let's bring it closer to home. We do have in Fordsburg our reporter there, Khayelihle Khumalo, who is on standby with the Minister of International Relations, Dr. Naledi Pandor. So, Khaya, the verdict is in that ruling there made by the ICJ, finding that Israel must halt all its military operations with immediate effect in Rafah. What is the reaction from your side?
Well, certainly quite a very groundbreaking ruling there from The Hague, Alicia. So we're still keenly waiting for the minister. She'll be joining us during the course of the afternoon. But really looking at the request that has been made by South Africa to the world courts, really in essence, really ruling in favor, really just calling for the operation to be halted, especially because in the context of Rafah, it's seen as a last refuge point, especially because we do know that that's where so many people have been displaced. The court said almost 800,000 people have been displaced in that part of Gaza, but also in the main. We do know that the Israelis, they took over control of this particular border between Palestine and Egypt in Rafah, a very central route when you talk about humanitarian aid, especially given the very dire situation that you have in Gaza, especially in Rafah, where we've seen very horrific scenes in that particular besieged enclave. So quite a very important moment for South Africa. It's been very steadfast in this particular case, but also, Alicia, all of this really happening as we have seen some three European nations, the likes of Ireland and also Norway, and of course really pointing out and really recognizing the state of Palestine, something that is quite important in terms of their quest for self-determination. So as I'm talking to you, I do understand the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Dr. Naledi Pandor, will join us shortly. And we know that in South Africa, when you talk about the Palestine-Israel issue, it's a very important issue, as we know that it's a final push for so many political parties in the country as they are campaigning and really just trying to make sure that people do understand, especially because we know that in fact, I do understand. Should I go to the minister? Should I wait? Well, I'm told I should wait for the minister here. But Alicia, like I'm just saying, a very important issue in South Africa for the political parties in terms of the country's stance. So we know that from 1995, South Africa has been supportive of really that quest. Well, the minister is here with us. So, Minister, once again, thank you so much. We see this is a final push. You're on the campaign trail, making sure that you try to make sure that people do understand. But maybe your fleeting reaction to the very landmark ruling by the court just a short while ago.
Well, one still needs to read the full statement of the court, the judgment they've handed down, but I believe a much stronger in terms of wording set of provisional measures, very clear call for a cessation, very important, and then the opening of the Rafah border and ensuring that humanitarian aid is made available, and then seizing this planned and current onslaught on Rafah, which is growing by the week. So a call for that to be stopped, because it does feed into our allegation, which is getting stronger and stronger by the day, that a genocide is underway. So we are really pleased that the court has given very serious consideration to the matters that we put before it, and has affirmed that an urgent decision is needed from the court to pause this onslaught against innocent Palestinian people.
And obviously, Minister, we're going to wait for that report within the period of 1 month in terms of the Israeli authorities. But previously, we've seen where they haven't been really compliant in terms of the previous orders, where you've gone back to seek modification. Are you cautiously optimistic at all that we may see a bit of change in that regard?
Well, Israel has had impunity for so long that they don't care what the global community says. So I think the responsibility goes to us as member states of the United Nations, and most particularly to the Security Council, because it's the one that has responsibility for global peace and security. So they must now determine measures to protect the people of Palestine. So I'm looking to the UN body and how it's going to respond, because it is clear we are all fearful, we're all seeing the horror unfold, and something needs to be done. And we cannot just rely on those who are the executioners of this ongoing onslaught to be the ones to stop it willingly.
Minister, obviously this is also a very important week where we saw 3 European nations, Spain, Norway and Ireland, recognizing Palestine as a state. Do you think that's in a way it's showing that there's this groundswell and the support globally for the Palestinians to have self-determination?
I think worldwide there is now more and more of an awakening that there needs to be a vocal and visible support for the cause for freedom and justice in Palestine. This has become increasingly evident. It's important that the rich countries of the north are beginning to speak out. And I hope we will see more and more. Already we had the very strong vote in the General Assembly for the admission of Palestine as a member state of the United Nations. The ball is now in the court of the UN Security Council, and we hope that the Council will affirm the decision of the General Assembly.
And Minister, obviously Israel not taking it well. They say this is outrageous. In fact, I think they've recalled some of their foreign envoys from these capitals.
I think they should be aware that the tide is turning, that the truth is finally out, that the world is recognizing the harm that has been visited upon Palestinian people, and they need to make a realistic assessment of where they stand with respect to the world, because a time may come where they will lose all their friends.
And just before we let you go, Minister, obviously we saw finally the ICC also really making a decision, and of course we do understand quite a lot of consideration in this regard, but do you think it's a positive step in terms of making sure that the culture of impunity is addressed?
Well, I think the ICC, in terms of its statute, clearly identified the areas of harm in indicating what it is seeking the warrants for. I thought that certain matters with respect to the reality of the history of the situation were not reflected in the statement of the prosecutor. For example, the issue of occupation, the responsibility of an occupier, the right of a people who are oppressed to defend and fight for freedom, to resist being occupied, being oppressed, being denied all rights. Those things were not mentioned. So it was as though it's 2 states interfacing with each other in a conflict, whereas you've got an occupying force really wielding a very hard hand against people that are occupied.
All right. Minister, thank you so much indeed for your time. Of course, Alicia, the Minister really here on the campaign trail, but also keeping a very beady eye on the issues of global interest for South Africa. As you know, it's been really at the forefront in bringing this issue before the ICJ. So with that, back to you in studio.